Welcome to the Branding Room Only podcast, where we share career stories, strategies, and lessons learned on how industry leaders and influencers have built their personal brands. Now, let's get started with the show. Hi, everyone. It's Paula Edgar. I am the host of Branding Room Only, and I bring on industry leaders and influencers to learn about how they're using their skills, their talents, their experiences to create and amplify their personal brands, and also what all the tea is about people's personal brands who they know about who aren't good. Anywho, today, I guess I have one of my great friends, Stefanie Marrone, who's going to be talking about all things branding. And Stefanie is a legal marketer, author, blogger, and frequent public speaker. And so, welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. Congratulations on launching this podcast. I love the name of it. I love everything about it. And I'm so excited to listen to it and be a guest.
Thank you so much. And so the first thing I do is start off with a bunch of questions that I ask to all of my guests, and then we'll get into your expertise, which we both have in common is our love for LinkedIn. But start me off with this. Stefanie, what is your elevator pitch?
Ooh, elevator pitches. It's tough, right? It's funny because you and I spoke on a panel recently where we talked all about personal branding and having an elevator pitch. So for me, it's, my job has changed a lot in the last few months. So I had a different elevator pitch when I was a consultant versus now where I'm in-house as a marketer. So I feel like that's also something folks should think about is like, you may have multiple elevator pitches for, depending on like what the circumstances are. But I would say that and also like what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like you may be like wanting a job or you may be wanting to get on a board, so my elevator pitch right now for where I am would be that I am a legal marketer who's worked at some of the most prominent law firms and I've seen everything and there's nothing I pretty much haven't done. And I love what I do. I'm so passionate about what I do, especially with regard to social media marketing. And I seem to know how to interact with lawyers because I still get hired. So that's, I guess, my self-deprecating elevator pitch. I also love to produce content. And so you'll find me on videos and you'll find me on my blog.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. So tell me, how do you define personal brand?
Okay, so personal branding, they say a lot is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I agree with that. There are conversations about each of us that are being conducted every single day. Conversations about, my background, your background, my expertise, your expertise, what we both do and how we do it, and people asking for recommendations. And so your personal brand, whether you like it or not, is something that follows you around. And we all have a lot of control over it, more than we think that we do. Those are my dogs, Paula, as you know. So we'll just pretend that didn't happen. They agree on personal branding. So that was a great exclamation mark there. I think personal branding is a lot of different things. It is a little, it's tricky when you are working in-house and trying to build your brand. And I had a situation very recently that I want to talk about that I'm sort of navigating. But your personal brand is everything about you, your expertise, and it also is your reputation. And so much of our personal brands have been blurred between personal and professional now. So we even say we have you have a personal brand, we have a professional brand, but the two coexist and they intertwine in so many ways because of social media. So that's my long-winded way of telling you what I think a personal brand is.
And I love that. I love that you gave the caveat about the fact that the personal and the professional blend, because, sometimes I'll, be speaking or going to speak somewhere and I'll be like, can we talk about professional brand in addition? And I'm like, it's all the same because who you are personally and who you are professionally, they meld to form what your brand is, right? And you talked about your expertise and your experience, et cetera. It's all of those things and how they come together. And what I love about the concept of branding is that you can be and have the same resume as somebody else, but how you and how your stuff shows up is your brand. It's your mix of that magic as opposed to just what you've done or just, what your credentials are. It's how you bring it to the table.
There are so many people who do what you do and who do what I do. And especially there's a lot of lawyers and a lot of M&A lawyers. There's a lot of litigators. Your personal brand is defined, I think, also by your unique experiences and the lens that you bring to those and the experiences that you've had and how you look at the world. And that is what I love about personal branding.
Me too. All right. So describe yourself in 3 words or phrases.
Oh my God, that's so hard. Okay, here's what I would say. I would say that I am incredibly enthusiastic and passionate and creative.
Mm-hmm.
I am always looking at things a little differently and bringing in different ideas. I'm an ideas machine. As you know, I give you homework.
Yes, you do.
I think what has differentiated me through the years, part of my personal brand, is the fact that I always kind of question things, but in a genuine, curious, excited way. Why do we do things the same way that we do them? Could we do them differently? Mm-hmm. And that's been part of my personal brand. I mean, there was a point, Paula, when I worked at a firm that I won't name here, that I was suggesting we use LinkedIn, and they were like, "Wait, what? What? We don't need LinkedIn. That's crazy. Lawyers don't need it. They get business because of how good they are at the law." And I'm like, "No, guys, that's actually not true." So I really tried there to be an innovator, and I think I would use that as an adjective as well, kind of innovation. 100%. But sometimes you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or the dog doesn't want to learn the tricks. The dog just wants to lay on the couch and watch Succession. Right?
No, it's so true. Because as you were talking, I was like, innovation is definitely something that comes up when I think of you. Engagement and also quality, right? So it's not just the amount of content. It's the richness of the content that you produce. And so it is why I think we quickly connected, because we both have a high standard of what we want to put out
100%. And you know what? Everybody, there's a lot of people, again, who do what you do, who do what I do, but there are not a lot of people who talk about it in the way that we talk about it. So bringing it to life in a different way. And that's your personal brand too. And you've done an amazing job building your brand. I mean, there's certain things about you that I could list my 3 adjectives about your words about you. And there's also color. And I hope you'll talk about that on another episode, because I feel I associate you with red and with purple. Me, not necessarily, although I am wearing a dog shirt today, which I think is actually part of my brand. 100%. I'm a dog lover. For those who don't know, I have 2 French bulldogs and I talk about them a lot. So yeah, one of them.
Tell them her name.
Yeah, Lucy and Scarlett. You can follow them on Instagram at Lucy Scarlett Frenchies. And one of them barked while we were on this, but that's part of my brand. I call them my chief Frenchie officers. And so I love that we don't have to take ourselves so seriously and be so buttoned up anymore post pandemic. That makes me, feel like you can have more of a personal brand and navigate this very buttoned up world that, has been kind of shaken up a little bit.
It has been shaken up a lot, and authenticity is definitely part of the growth of our personal brands. It's something that I recommend.
Great word. I love that word. I think we will both define ourselves as authentic.
Absolutely. You're never not going to get me. So next question is, what is your hype song? And let me give you a little context of the hype song. So hype song can be used in 2 ways. One is when you're walking into a room and you're about to give them all 100% Stefanie, full thing, what song is playing in your head? Or hype song is, Stefanie's having a bad day. What song are you going to play in order to change that around and pick yourself up?
Okay, so in those 2, I'm glad you said that. Thank you for the clarification. I would choose 2 different songs, but the song that is 1,000,000% my song, and when I'm getting hyped up, working out, all of those things, and I just love is Eminem's "Lose Yourself," and I just it gets me going. It gets me really excited. It makes me feel energy and feel just, I don't know, this, sort of I could do anything. And that's actually the song that I always ask the instructors to play when I used to do spinning at Flywheel a lot. And so I love that. I also would tell you a lot of Janet Jackson songs will get me going and be exciting. And obviously I'm going to say Beyonce. And particularly Who Run the World. And there are a number of other Beyonce songs that just sort of like really motivate me and get me excited.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Lose Yourself is good. I love it as a song because it has that momentum that builds.
Oh, in the beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly like the like I love that part of it. And then it's like crescendos and then it's a good one.
Which is a good way of thinking about how you build your brand. Because I think that, when you are brand building, sometimes people want to go from zero to it, but you have to do that building. You can't set a goal or a mission or vision about your brand and just get there. You have to do the work. You have to put in the things in order to have your brand be consistent and be known for whatever the thing is. And so I love that as a song, and I love that as how it kind of navigates in that space. And so tell me, Stefanie, how have you built your personal brand?
Oh my God, Paula, let me count the ways. I don't even know where to begin here with regard to that question, but I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. So, okay. How have I built my personal brand? Number one, social media, specifically LinkedIn. I am a LinkedIn evangelist. They don't pay me. They should. It has opened doors for me in immeasurable ways in every way, like either through getting a job, getting a new opportunity, making connections, feeling connected to people during COVID when I was home alone with my dogs and felt like the world was very lonely. I also used LinkedIn at a very early point in my career as I think one of the people who was an early adopter of it. So I was able to stand out. And out of the 900 million people on LinkedIn, Paula, 1% of those people post content. And of that 1%, probably 5% of that content is actually good. So the other thing
that just killed me.
I know, right? It's a crazy stat. The other thing I did to build my brand was, there's a couple of things, but very importantly, it was starting a blog. It was writing. It was speaking at conferences. And by the way, I was young. I look young now. Let's just be real. But I was really young when I was doing these things. And people would, peers of mine would sort of, I think that weren't necessarily my greatest cheerleaders. I think I had more guts than some people that I didn't wait for opportunities to come to me. I need them happen. I went after them. I felt uncomfortable. I aligned myself with great mentors who invited me to do things and who believed in me that I could. I remember the very first time I gave a LinkedIn presentation was an internal presentation when I was at Proskauer. And my boss at the time, who's my mentor, Wendy Bernero, she's like, you can do this. Shout out to Wendy. She's like, you can do this. You're going to be great. I had never done it before in that setting. And I couldn't believe the engagement, and it motivated me. And when you love, Paula, something, the way that you and I both love public speaking, you and I love connecting with people, we love LinkedIn, it shows. So I think the passion for what I do shows, and that comes through. But I would say it's LinkedIn, speaking engagement, and video, writing. But it's also the fact that I've been really smart about maximizing these things. So if I speak at a conference, I'm going to write an article about it, and then I'm going to do a LinkedIn post, and maybe I'll do a video snippet. It's repurposing the things I have to build a consistent presence over time that then people associate me with being an expert in a certain area.
But Stefanie, where the hell do you find time to do all of this? Like, I feel like there's like 6 different Stephanies, and y'all all do content, and then you all come together as one, like, it's like Voltron, and then you post on LinkedIn. Where do you find time? Tell me how you navigate this and being who you want to be and showing what you want to show on LinkedIn and everywhere else.
It's such a good question. Okay, here's the thing. Now, I have mastered this. This is what I do for a living. It comes easy to me. It doesn't come easy to everyone. it is not easy to build I don't believe that. It's not easy to build your personal brand when you are working full time. In fact, building my personal brand was harder when I was a consultant because I had a lot of client work, client demands, people calling me, people wanting me. I wanted to clone myself at one point. There are a lot of people, including my exes, who would be like, yeah, no, 170 Marrone is more than enough. But I make the time for it, even though I don't have the time to do it. And I think with anything in life, like if you're busy, you can find the time for certain things. You have to be efficient. The more you do it, the better you get at it. You stick to certain areas. So like, for example, Paula, I've given you this homework, your content pillars, which you do. You talk about 3 to 5 things that fall in your wheelhouse that support your brand, support your business. Same thing for me. You're not going to hear me talk about computers because number one, I don't know anything about computers, but number two, that doesn't fit with my brand. Okay. So I'm going to talk about LinkedIn. I'm going to talk about women's issues. Because that's like a pet, passion project of mine through my Women Who Wow initiative. I'm going to talk about legal marketing and I'm going to talk about personal branding. And I might talk about motivational kinds of issues that relate to people who are like us. But that's it. That's what I stick to. I don't batch create my content. I know a lot of people do. That works for some people. It doesn't work for me. But I'll tell you what I do. When I get an idea, I make sure I put it in the notes section of my phone. I write it down. I have a running list of things, and then I'll go back and I'll edit them and expand upon them. And I also repurpose. That is the word of the day for me. I take things I do and I turn them into other things. By the way, I repost a lot of my posts. People don't realize it. Maybe I'll change up the image. Maybe I'll do a different video. But the content is pretty much the same because if it's not broke, don't fix it. And most people don't remember what they had for breakfast yesterday, let alone what you or I posted on LinkedIn. So being smarter about the things you already have. Each of us, Paula, has a groundswell of content that we probably don't even realize. And so it's just being smart about using it.
That's something that you taught me that, in terms of working smarter, not harder. And I'm trying to incorporate that. But to your point about being, when you were out consulting, it being so hard, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if I ate breakfast today. So let me figure this out. But I appreciate your point about prioritizing things that are important to you and that need to get done. Because I read something on Instagram the other day that said, like, it's not that people don't have time, it's that they don't have time for you. I was like, thanks.
That's a really
do, right? Right. It's the things that we find important that we prioritize. And so if you find that you are someone out there who is like, I don't, make this important, but this is one of your goals. And then, check it out for 2 weeks. If you decide that you're going to prioritize it, how it can show up in your life in a different way and how your brand will start to grow based on you prioritizing it.
Absolutely. And also, can I say that the New York State Lotto slogan is something you've heard me mention, and I'm going to mention it again. I am not suggesting we all go play Lotto tonight, but what I am saying is you got to be in it to win it. And if you're not in it, meaning you're not doing these things, you're not doing them consistently, then you're not going to be found. It's not enough to be a great lawyer. It's not enough to be a great marketer, a great DEI consultant, a great personal branding consultant, a great accountant. There are a lot of people who do what we do. What differentiates people like you and me is that we have the guts to be visible about it. And not everyone's going to like us and not everyone's going to gravitate toward us. Not everyone's going to hire us, and that's okay. But we are top of mind with the people who can refer business to us, do work with us, hire us, all of those things, which is incredibly powerful. And what I would say that you all need to think about. And by the way, Paula, everybody has a personal brand, whether they like it or not, because I can Google you and I will when I hear your name in conversations of which we're not even aware. Oh, Paula Edgar, she's an amazing consultant. I'm going to go Google you. I'm going to go look on your LinkedIn. I'm going to go look at your website, all of the things that you've written. And there's conversations going on behind the scenes. So why not take control yourself of that narrative, right? No, we all have personal brand.
Yes, control the conversation about you. I love it. I love that. Okay. All right. So, hmm, what mistakes have you seen people make when it comes to building their brands?
I mean, so many mistakes. Can we do a podcast just on that topic? So I think there's a few. Number one is doing things they don't like to do. So you will do things better when you like what you do. If you hate public speaking, don't public speak. If you don't like writing articles, don't do it or buddy up with somebody. If you hate social media, don't post on social media. You need to be aware of all the things that are available. And like Paula, I always like use this analogy. You know, you go to a Greek diner and you can get like the pancakes or you can get like the chicken marsala and like there's everything under the sun. The menu's like a yellow pages for those of you who remember the yellow pages. And you're sort of like, okay, I can do all these things. You shouldn't. And like I think that's another thing. There are a lot of people who get overwhelmed by the options out there and they don't do it all. Like, by the way, I really want to launch a podcast. You know that I do. I don't have the time right now. So I'm not going to do it because if I'm not going to do it well, I don't want to do it. So you don't have to do all of the things all the tactics at once. And you can also abort mission. If maybe something's not for you or it's not working out, do something different. If you hate video, don't do video. So do things you like. Don't do too many things at once so it seems overwhelming. And make sure that you're giving 100% to everything you're doing because that's how you know that you will be successful at it. And I think the other mistake is that people don't think they need to do personal branding. And like we just said, there are conversations every day going on about you and me. And if I don't see a lot of things about your brand, I'm confused, right? If I don't see a LinkedIn profile, I'm confused about you. And I might work with somebody else who has a much more robust dossier.
Yeah, no, I think that is so true. And you know, the reason why I wanted to have Stefanie on the blog is because we have this in common. We love LinkedIn and it's because it's so powerful, right? And it is the most powerful free tool we have access to, period. And yet people don't use it, right? And people don't use it or they don't use it well or effectively. And I think, you know, when I think of mistakes people make that puts it at the end is like, you know, you're not maximizing even the basics of your profile. Well, what are the basics of your profile? What are the minimum things I need to do if I just want to show up on LinkedIn and be found? What should I do?
Okay. So if you want to be found on LinkedIn and this is new to you, for example, or let's say it's not new to you, but you're not sure where to begin. Number one is to have a strong profile. So I break up LinkedIn into 3 areas, 3 pillars. One of them is your profile. And the things you need to think about on your profile are having a very strong headline. So that's the area right under your name. If you don't optimize that, what LinkedIn does is pull your current job title and your company name. And that's not optimization of or taking control of your personal brand. Like a lot of cases, Paula, it would be lawyer at, and then the name of the firm, associate at, partner at, and you can really get much more nuanced and more specific and aspirational. So it should be intellectual property partner at X firm representing startups and representing, you know, clients in copyright, trademark, and patent. And then I would add a little bit about other things you do. Maybe you're a writer, a blogger, maybe you're a podcast host. You add those things. So take a look at both Paula and my LinkedIn headlines for inspiration for those out there. The other thing is your cover image. You need to have a strong cover image. It needs to reflect what you do for whom you do it. And you can do that visually. And it's so easy. And you can use Canva to create a template for that very easily. The other thing is make sure you have all of the sections of your profile filled out so that you show up in search results. And you will be found if you have all those areas. So that when you get all-star status, Paula, on LinkedIn, it's not like a badge, right? It's really because the profiles with all-star status have preference over others. Usually the thing that's holding people back from getting all-star status is that they didn't put their summary in, which is the bio. So if you have a bio on a law firm website, you need to take that bio and make it more conversational and put it in the first person. And if you don't have a bio at all, you need a bio. This is your bio. I want everybody to think about LinkedIn as essentially a website, their personal website. And everything there is hinging from it that is essentially telling people all about you, the content you write, the events at which you've spoken, and your connection. So that's another foundational aspect of this would be to think of LinkedIn as a blog. It's a content hub. It's a website. And your profile is your homepage. And so if you think about it that way and you look at your entire professional history and make sure that your profile really reflects that, you'll be in good shape. The other thing that you need to do is build your connections. Don't just wait for connections to come to you. Again, you got to be in it to win it. So really engage and add people. And then the third thing is your participation on the network on LinkedIn. And that is the trickiest one. That's where people struggle the most, I find. That's where they're nervous about posting something. What will people think of it? Will it get any likes? What if they don't like it? What will my employer think? And that is a tricky one, by the way. That's the issue that I am navigating again, is building my personal brand while working full time and making sure that I am being a good employee, but also staying true to who I am as a professional in this industry. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, and also finding the time to post. But LinkedIn can work for you if you allow it to. The other thing is authenticity on LinkedIn is so important. The posts that stand out and the people who stand out are the ones who tell stories, are the ones that share experiences from their past. That's what makes us us. That's our personal brand. The dry, boring business content that people post doesn't do well. And if it does well, it's because people feel bad that they feel like they shouldn't like it. But this is why I tell people, don't post that. For the 19th consecutive year, I've been named super lawyer. No one really cares, guys, and it's a waste of a post. Every single thing you put out in the public sphere is a touch point, is an opportunity to connect with people or not. It's essentially your elevator pitch. It's essentially, showing up at a networking event and either talking to people strategically or not talking to anybody. So we have a choice every day what we post. And I think a lot of people, Paula, they don't think about their audience when they post anything, just think about themselves. And that is number one rule with anything you post. What's in it for my audience? Why am I posting this? And you can build your brand, by the way, by providing value to other people. That has been the hallmark of everything I've ever done, is giving away free information, helping other people with no expectation of anything in return. It's not me ever posting awards that I win. And by the way, I do win awards, but I don't post them. I want to show versus tell when it comes to my personal brand. So,
well, I'm definitely, when I get an award again, I'm showing it, because that's,
I'm going to be like,
I'm so humbled to move this.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's the way you tell that story, right? So you can be the best lawyer in your respective area, but a humble brand would be a better approach. Like, I never expected in a million years that when I blank, I would blank. So I was a magazine editor for years, and then I became a legal marketer. Well, that's an interesting story, right? I could talk about that. I could talk about the fact that I was going to go to law school, but I didn't. And then I decided to. This is not me. This is fake Stefanie. But you catch my drift. Tell a story. Be self-deprecating and connect with people in an authentic, vulnerable, honest way. And that is what separates you. By the way, people are scared to do that. You don't have to tell everybody about the skeletons in your closet or talk about, childhood trauma. You can talk about something in your formative years, a mentor, someone who helped you, how you got in your field, why you love what you do. There's just so many ways to bring people in with that story hook. And that is personal branding in 2023 and beyond, in my opinion, and where it's going.
Oh, I love that, because I'm literally in the middle of writing an article, which of course I'll share with all of y'all and you, Stefanie, about where I think personal branding is going this year. And that authenticity piece is in there because I see it. It's like the wave that's coming. And even people who I thought were boring sergeant lawyers are starting to incorporate some things. And I see the momentum, I see the movement of what's happening when, people give a little, they get a lot back, a lot back.
I love that.
So,
I love that. Let's just like brand that. Give a little. So we've got, you give a little, you get, what did you say? Say it again.
a lot back, a lot
Okay.
back.
And you got to be in it to win it. Those are our little phrases.
And a dollar in a dream.
Okay. I like.
Okay. So Stefanie, first of all, you know that you'll be back on the podcast because you just have so much to share.
I
And I love
know.
having you on. So, you'll be back on. So there's that.
We have a lot of other topics we could cover,
So much. So you know that you'll be a standing guest on Branding Room
Anytime.
Only. But on Branding Room Only, I ask all of my guests 2 questions. And I can't wait to hear what your answer is to these. So this is the stand by your brand moment. What is the authentic aspect of your personal brand that you will never compromise on?
That's interesting. That's okay. It's going to be being me. It's going to be the fact that I am never going to be that person who wears the gray and black suits all buttoned up and is not wearing something a little quirky or is not telling jokes and being relatable. It's the energy I bring. I'm like, I can't change myself. And I know that I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. And that is something I learned. And I really had to sort of deal with the fact that I won't be for everybody. I'm not going to belong certain places, but I know I'm going to go where I'm supposed to be. And the people who like my content, the people who like me are the right people for me. So I'll never compromise being myself. And I'm also not going to compromise showing up. It's scary. And I, oftentimes get nervous about what I post and just being visible and having people who are criticizing me. Because when you put yourself in the public eye, you open yourself up to that. But my passion for wanting to help and teach others outweighs that uncomfortable feeling. So I'm never going to compromise shrinking myself to fit in places that I don't really belong. I'm going to be me. And that was a hard lesson, by the way, to learn.
I love that. And that there's so much that we could take from that. We could talk about that for a whole time too. But the next one is, what is your branding room only? What's your magic? Tell me about the special skill, gift, experience that you have that people would stand in a room to see you show, tell, be in a room. What's your standing room only, branding room only moment?
Okay, so I think it's the passion and energy that I have for what I do and the way I talk about it. So I can go into a room and I can speak to people. I could do it on a webinar, which is so hard because you don't know if your jokes are actually hitting people or if they like your content. I'm always like, could somebody write something in the chat to let me know that you like this? That today I did a program and I said, if you want to throw a virtual tomato at me, feel free or tell me something nice, right? So I think it's the energy that I bring to a presentation, to something. It's the passion for what I do and the love for what I do that I know comes through. When you love what you do, I don't think it's that hard to build your personal brand. And I also don't think that you need to be an extrovert to do it. There's plenty of introverts who are doing great jobs doing different things. I thrive being on a stage. I thrive talking to people. That's how I am. It's how I've always been. And I think what I do for a living now really makes sense. It was like a culmination of so many years of being oh, I don't know, maybe I'll just be behind the scenes kind of thing. I know my talent is helping teach others and getting people excited about marketing, about LinkedIn, about personal branding. And I won't ever stop being me to do that. So I think that's what it is.
What a perfect way to end this podcast. Stefanie, I want to thank you for spending some time with me and talking about all of our favorite things. And for everybody, listen, make sure that you follow Stefanie on every single place that she is, and she's everywhere. And you go to socialmediabutterfly.com to get all of her fantastic content. And if this is the first time listening to the Branding Room Only, make sure you follow, like, and continue to check out my content. And I'll see you on the interwebs. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Branding Room Only podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to hit subscribe to get future episodes.